sensitive. Um, and I want to put this out here. Um, I'm not pointing the fingers at anyone. If you don't have certain things in place, please do not walk away and feel bad or downtrodden. Knowledge is power. And when you know better, you do better. So if you don't have it in place, you haven't done it, you haven't thought about it, just breathe. It's okay. It's okay. And it's going to be all right. So, and I know things have probably transpired or happened in the past. We can't account for that. Today is a brand new day. And so today we receive new mercies. Amen. And we're going to try to do better. And some may ask, well, how does this fit in with the missions department? We've already been given our pillars that the missions department is here to support spiritually, financially, materially, physically. But I do want to say that the missions department and the church is not a bank. We have to have realistic expectations of the church and the people in the church. And I will say, when you lose a loved one, sometimes the enemy may be coming against you in so many ways that you really can't even see straight. And a lot of times, what will happen, and we will come up with this term, church hurt, because we feel like the saints didn't do everything for us during our time of need. Some of the things we can help ourselves with. And the church is here to help us. Like, if they want to, somebody can send you a card with some money in it as opposed to sending flowers. Or the saints, the missionaries can bring food over to your house to make sure, you don't have to cook because you got so many things going on. But we're not, the church is not a bank. It's not set up that way. All of the other things we do because of the Spirit of the Lord has touched our heart out of the kindness of our heart, and we want to be there for you. So I pray today that if you have had bad experiences, maybe you might take a look at it again. Because sometimes if we haven't taken care of what we're supposed to do, then it's easy to blame somebody else. Like, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. Well, did you? Did you? So I always say you really have to have realistic expectations. The last thing I'm going to say is I'm not a CPA and I'm not a lawyer. So whatever I say, please consult your CPA or your tax advisor and a lawyer. I can give you information, which is what I'm going to do today, but you want to do a vector check. Amen. So today we're going to talk. I just had this level set. We want to start off, on a good footing. And again, I say, I'm not here to hurt anybody. I'm not here to make anybody feel bad. What I hope I'm here to do is to help us as a people prepare ourselves. And there's a saying, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. I want to live forever. I want to be raptured. I don't want to die. I don't want to be in the ground. I don't want it. Jesus, come right now. Come quickly. But in the event I do pass away, I want my house to be in order. I do not want my husband and my son, while they're grieving my loss, to have to worry about the finances and how they're going to make ends meet. And this is more so for the women, too, because sometimes the man is the primary breadwinner. And then when the spouse passes away, then sometimes the woman may have to sell the house to make ends meet because you're used to a certain level of lifestyle and that income is no longer there. So you find yourself in a conundrum. So the six pillars of biblical, and I'm please somebody timing me to make sure I don't go over. And I do want to. Did everybody get a ticket? Okay. I always like to give out things that will help in regard to what I've taught. The six pillars of biblical stewardship and legacy. Your legacy is an amount of money or property left to someone in a will. How many of us have wills? Need a will. Put your house in order or set your house in order because you are going to die. That's what the prophet Isaiah told to King Hezekiah. He told him to set his house in order. And the time to do that is now. Really, it was yesterday. And I wish somebody would have told me this a long time ago. Long time ago. The sooner you start, the better you're off. A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children. Do you know how a lot of people inherit generational wealth? Insurance. And I'm probably getting ahead of myself. Do you know when the best time to buy insurance is? When you're young. But you know what young people say? I can't afford it. But you'll see them same young people wearing Jordan shoes that cost $300. Do you know when you're young and you're healthy and you don't have any ailing health conditions, you can get maybe $100,000, $1 million policy, like under $100, and you just pay for that puppy till Jesus comes. And you know what? God forbid, in the event of your loss, your loved ones are taken care of. When you get older, it's harder for you to become insured because of diabetes, high blood pressure, all of these different conditions. So, to all of my young people, please, if you don't do anything else, get you a policy. If you're older, see, you can go on some is an insurance quote. There's several websites out there. You can look and see if you can get a policy. But you really need, especially if you don't have not amassed a significant amount of income in a bank, because you know some wealthy people. The reason why sometimes they don't get it because they have so much money in the bank. Like, you know? Okay. People, and I want to say this, people do not make good decisions when they're in the midst of grieving. When you're grieving, your mind is so cloudy. You got a million and one things to do. Um, Changing paperwork, the house, the kids, the car, all of this. You have all of these things coming to you at once. How did I come to know this? One, my good friend Carol Walters, who passed away, she made sure everything was set up for her spouse, Jesse, and Caprice, and Jessica. And then when we went through it with Sister Spivey, I got to see firsthand. And I don't know about you, but I'm one of them people I watch, I look, I listen, and I learn. After that, I wasn't prepared. I didn't do a whole lot of things until we were in the midst of what we had to go through with Sister Spivey. And I saw all of the holes, all of the gaps. I was like, oh, we need to do this. We need to make sure we have that. Oh, I need to take care of this because if I don't, this is what I'm gonna. So I pray that you take that away. Decisions need to be made beforehand. Not you really want to do it like now or yesterday. Because if you become incapacitated, you cannot make decisions. All of your affairs will be in limbo. You don't want that to happen to your family. I pray you don't. So, and sometimes this requires us to have crucial conversations. I know this is not a good subject. It's not one of those that make you want to scream, run up and down. It's not a good subject, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. Before my father passed away, he would try and talk to me and say, "I want to talk to you about this." I was like, "No, no, no, no. I'm not even the oldest, so like, go talk to my brother. Let just talk to him because I didn't want to have that conversation. Now that my mother's older, she wants to have a conversation. Like Jesus, it's a conversation we need to have. Sometimes we don't want to have it, especially with our parents, because you don't want your parents to think you waiting on them to die so you can get some money. So it's like we trying to avoid it. No, but we need to have these conversations so when you or I expire, it's peace. I mean, you miss your loved one, but there's no whole lot of who shot John. And you see at the funeral, everybody sitting there looking like this. But then after the funeral, what are people doing? They're ready to fight. And sometimes over little or nothing. I will tell you, my mom and her siblings, they are at odds today over a acre of land. They are at odds today. I want to say this too. If you have more than one child, I think this is the problem my grandmother made. She would talk to this child separately, then she talked to that child separately, then she talked, no, put them all down. Tell them all together. Let them know and put it in writing. If you want the car, you get the car. If you want the heirlooms, you get the heirlooms. You get this. But because she talked to them individually, they're like this. You don't want, especially if you have more than one child, you don't want your kids to be at odds, saint or sinner. If your kids are in the church, out of church, sit them all down and then express to them your last will and wishes. Because then, too, sometimes people stand around the hospital bed and they say, well, she told me this. Well, no, but he said he wanted to do this. And again, it can cost you money, it can cost your estate money. So let's go to the next slide. Died intestate without a will. These are some well known people. Michael Jackson, his um, net worth was about $2 billion. He had a trust. He did have a trust for his kids, but his estate was held up in probate because there was a issue between what the IRS valued his estate and what the people over his estate valued it. So he's one example. Howard Hughes, he had 1 billion. At the end, he died in 1976. Guess when they settled his estate? 1976, 2010. 34 years, his assets were tied up in court because he didn't have a will. He didn't have anything written. At the end, 22, and he didn't have any kids and he didn't have a wife. So at the end, his estate was settled with 22 cousins. And you know what else happens when you don't have a will? People come out the woodwork. You may have a niece or nephew you ain't talked to in eons. And they'll come and be like, no, but she promised me she was going to give me this. And the kids are looking like, where have you seen you? Like, what are you doing? People will come out the woodwork. That's why you got to have it in writing. Aretha Franklin, 6 million. She wrote a will, but if you do it yourself, and I know it's expensive, you all. It's not cheap. Anything worth having, you might have to pay some money. The only person I'll say you might want to go through, we won't like her lifestyle, is Susie Orman, but I believe her stuff will stand up in court if you wanted to use her and you didn't want to go through a lawyer, because it's going to cost, and it depends on how much you have, from like 1,500 to 2,900 to get all of this in place. It's going to cost, but your loved ones will thank you when it's over, when it's all said and done. She wrote a will, but it wasn't according to the standards for Michigan. So her stuff was tied up in probate court for 5 years. And in the end, I think somebody in her family, I forget who claimed it. And then Sonny Bono, 1998, he died. Um, the state of California decided his assets were dispersed to various people after 10 years of being in probate. 10 years, that's too long. That's too long. 34 years, that's too long. When if you have a written will, you have an estate plan in place, everything is seamless. You're missing your loved one. You're like, you don't need anything else. And this, if you do these things, it can help you. So estate planning basics. A financial plan without a legal plan and a legal plan without a financial plan is a disaster. You need both. You need a legal plan. It needs to be notarized. Then you need a financial plan. All of these assets, and you know we got like today, does for all of the married couples, do you know where your marriage certificate is? For everybody, do you know where your birth certificate is? All of this stuff needs to be organized. And everyone needs to know where it's located. How many of you have a fireproof safe? If your house burned down, like in the state of California, all of your documents, or you can get a safety deposit box and pay at, a monthly, whatever. Or you can just get something in the house. We need both a legal plan and a financial plan. Next slide. Will or will not? Over 72% of Americans lack a valid will. You may have a will, but the question is it valid? And it's valid based upon that state's legal requirements. You can draw one up. Now, I would say, in the absence of a will, this is very important, and I may get ahead of myself. If you are a parent, and especially if you are a single parent and you have kids that are under 18, please write down your last will and instructions and keep it on the refrigerator or somewhere where that child knows where it's located. Because, God forbid, if you were to pass away, the state, until they could decide who's going to take care of poo poo, they would put them in a foster home or put them in some type of state care. So please, if you have kids under the years of 18 years of age and you do not have a will in place today, write down some written instruction. At least when it goes to court, they can say, because the judge, he doesn't know you from Adam. He's trying to figure out. You may have people coming from here and there. Yeah, we'll take care of them. They come live with me. No, they can come live with me. And the judge has to decide, and he doesn't know you. He don't know the kids. Who is best fit to take care of these kids? Please, let's not let our kids go to foster care or state care or anything like that. 18% of people don't even know what an advanced healthcare directive is. How many of you have an advanced healthcare directive? That's not good. 35% of adults in the US say they or someone they know experienced familial conflict because of an estate plan or a will was not put in place, which means your family was arguing, fussing, all outside the hospital room, all at the house when they came back from the funeral. And you know, sometimes they don't even wait till your body cold in the grave. And I know somebody went to somebody's house. As soon as they pronounced them dead, they went to the house with the keys and started. It's like, can we wait? Yeah, can we? Probate expenses can cost up to 10% of an estate under the best circumstances. So if your estate is valued at $1 million, 10% of that, because you got all these fees, you got lawyer fees, court fees, filing fees. And that's the other thing. When these things are not in place, somebody who may not have a lot of money is going to have to take off their job, which is going to cause another financial strain if they don't have a job where they can just take leave and come and go and they not. So 10% is going to go to pay for all those fees. Then it can take from a few months to several years. We've already said the max has been 34 years. That your stuff is just in limbo while it's just going. And you know, nobody's really concerned about it but you. You know, when we go and we call like Social Security Administration, we want them to act when? Now. It's we're filing. If I got a stack of papers on my desk and you when I get to you, 52% of Americans 55 and over say dying without an estate plan would be irresponsible. 55 and over. 22% say it would be inconsiderate, and 14% say it would be ignorant. Get this, 77% of pet owners designate a guardian for Fido and Fifi. We care more about our pets. Our pets. Do you know the pet industry is $1 billion industry? People get insurance on their pets. People pay thousands of dollars for your pets to have surgery. I'd be like, I'm sorry, bye. JoJo, my dog name was JoJo, but I'm sorry, JoJo. 77%. We have to do better. A pet, y'all. Next slide. Estate planning. So, what is estate planning? It's the process of organizing how somebody say you are the decision maker. How your assets, responsibilities, and wishes will be managed and distributed when you pass away or become unable to make decisions for yourself. At its core, estate planning involves deciding one who gets what. And you know what? I thought, well, I was like, it's just me and Pastor Tanner. We only have one son. Surely Simeon gets everything. I went and talked to a lawyer. They say you need to get an estate plan. Even though he would, it would still have to go through probate. I'm like, that's my son. I'm like, that car is sitting in my garage. The house got my name on the deed. Like, what we talking about? I still. Yes, ma'am. Oh, exactly. Mhm. 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 Abs- Absolutely. If you have a blended family, you don't want stepsisters and stepbrothers arguing over who. Well, that was my mom. Well, that was my dad. This is especially important if you have a blended family. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. But blended families, because you may be married to whoever, but the kids may not see them as that's your spouse, right? Choosing who will make decisions for you if you are incapacitated. And normally, my research and viewing the research, it says it takes at least two physicians to declare you incapacitated. Do you know how long it takes to get with a doctor who has a schedule and patience, and you're trying to get a piece of paper signed and documented? It takes some time. So they're not gonna while you might be like, I need this right now. You call them every day, ma'am, and the nurse at the phone, we let him know he'll get back to you. You the time to do it while you in your sound presence of mind. Don't wait. Don't wait. Creating legal documents like a will, a trust, a power of attorney, deciding on things like guardianships for children. Like I said, write down something, written instructions now for your kids. Your funeral wishes, or charitable giving. Funeral wishes. Do you want to be cremated? Yes or no? Do you want to be put in a vault, or do you want to be in the ground? You could, and even now you can even write out your obituary, and you can even write out who you want to do what in the service. It's your will, it's your last will and testament, what you want done. Because they may call somebody out that never even talked to you. No, you don't have nothing in common. So you want to write it down. Who does what? Like I told Pastor Tanner, I want a closed casket. I don't want anybody walking by. And I want a big picture sitting on the easel. Because I feel like the last thing you see is what you remember. If you, I do not want to be cremated. It's not just for the wealthy. If you own anything, a home, a bank account, car, life insurance, or care about who handles your affairs, you need an estate plan. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. For you all that have bank accounts, if because we have several, we have joint, then we have individual. If that's the case and your name is not on that account, please check with your bank and see if they have a form that you can fill out that says payable on death. Otherwise, that money is going to sit in the account. You're going to be incurring expenses. You only have so much, and you won't be able to help. If you have investments like stocks and bonds, and even check with your real estate, whoever owns your house or whatever, see if they have something called a transfer on death. Transfer on death. Make sure you have all of these things like Schwab, TD Trade, Fidelity. If you have these, you can bypass probate. If not, it all goes to probate. Next one. What happens without it? If you die without a will or an estate plan, here's what might happen. The state decides who gets your assets, which may not be what you want. They don't have anything to go by. All they have is these people coming in front of them saying, I get a car, I get a car, I get a car. And they have to decide. The process called probate can be long, expensive, and stressful for your family. Every state has a probate threshold. And for those of you that live in Georgia, we do not have a threshold. So anything that you have is going to probate. There's a website, Mangus, Mangus, finance.com. It will let you know what your state threshold is. No one may know your medical or financial wishes if you become incapacitated. Courts decide who raise your children, and conflict may arise among your family members. So, I'll get to that. Okay. So the next one, what is a will? A will, also called a last will, allows you to decide who inherits your belongings, money, home, property. It allows you to name a guardian for your minor children. Who do you want to take care of your children? You get to appoint, as Sister Trudy said, an executor. That's the person that's going to carry out your wishes. You're going to put whoever. You could do the oldest, you could do the youngest, it could be somebody else. In the case with my father, it was my aunt because I didn't want that responsibility. So I'm trying to get it for my older brother. But your parents, you know your kids. So my mom knows that I'm a saver and my brother is a waster. So if you know that your kids are different, you're not going to make the waster the executor of your inheritance. Or you know what they're going to do? They're going to waste it. So know your kids. Like I don't want to be it, but express your funeral or burial preferences. Cremation optional. Even if you say you're single and maybe I don't know you're estranged from your family, you can even designate where the money in your account goes or your investment account, your bank account. If you want to gift it to CLJ, you can gift it to CLJ. But at least you have a say so in where those monies or resources are going. Without a will, your state laws determine who gets what, and it may not align with your wishes. What should a will include? Personal information, your full legal name, your address, a statement that this is your last will and revokes all previous wills. Like maybe the one you wrote out and it's not legal, it will revoke that. Executor appointment. Name someone you trust to carry out your wishes. Call an executor or personal representative. The court is only going to work with that person. So everybody else can come and stake their claim. Well, no, I'm supposed. Nope, nope, nope. We got this in writing. And again, we don't want surprises a secret. Do it with all your kids. Whoever is going to be involved, do it so everybody's mind can be at ease and peace. God forbid at your passing. Guardian of minor children or universal guardianship trust for special needs, especially if you have kids with special needs, you want to get something in writing. Who's going to take care of your kids? Name a guardian for your children under 18, or until you get all this other stuff done, write out written instructions and put it on the refrigerator where anybody could find it because you know life can happen. Choose someone who shares your faith and values. That's why you want it in writing. Because if the court decides, it may be Uncle Bob, and Uncle Bob is an alcoholic. Like you don't want Uncle Bob handling your affairs or Aunt Mary. Distribution of assets. List specific bequests. Who receives what? Property, money, heirlooms. There are some people they have collectibles. Like my husband's stepfather, he collected those little fancy cars or whatever. It might be jewelry. One person might get jewelry. The other person get the paintings on the wall. Maybe got some artifacts in your house or whatever. You want everything in writing. That's why in that package that you have, there's a list from Schwab that you can go through. This is just to get you started. Because if you decide to go to an attorney, you're going to want to have all of this together before you go to them. You can do it before you do it after, but I say be proactive. That way they can give you an estimate of how much it's going to cost you. Right? So just write it all down. List your assets. Where are they located? Because some people might have creative means to store stuff, and you may not know about that storage down the street. They got a whole lot of stuff in it, right? You don't know. Let's see. Debts and taxes. Instructions for paying off debts and handling taxes. So, again, if you die without a will, There's an order to how things are paid off. So when it goes to probate, they're going to want to list all of your assets. They have to, I know in the state of Georgia, they have to put it in the newspaper. Everything you own. So all the stuff that we like to keep private, nobody know about, it's all going to be public. And you know why they do that? Because say me and Pastor Tanner, we get some work done in our house. We get some landscaping work done, which we need. And we go overseas to Kenya. And while we're there, God forbid something happens to us. We don't have a will. So our son is going to try and claim everything. They're going to say, wait, you don't have a will, it has to go to probate. We have to list all of your assets. And I believe they have to do it for 4 days. So that landscaper that we contracted to do our yard, he's like, they're dead. They owe me. They owe me $5,000. I want my money. So they list it in the newspaper, and then that landscaper can come and say, wait, before you give Brother Tanner that money, I need to get my $5,000. Does that make sense? Okay. You want it in writing. So all of it is going to be public. It's for 4 days. So anybody, you can have somebody who maybe if they contrary might come and say, well, she owed me $200. Like I don't even owe you like that. But just to hold things up. So you don't want that to happen. Then it must be signed. You're going to have signatures, and it must be notarized. That makes it official. So you want to make sure you do all that. Okay, then an advance directive is a legal document that outlines your future healthcare wishes and treatment preferences in the event you are unable to communicate your own decisions due to a serious illness or injury. You want an advance directive. You want it to be known what do you want to happen to you while you're in the hospital. You don't want anybody to be arguing about it or somebody that makes arbitrary decisions about your care. It allows you to choose a healthcare agent, or it's called a proxy, to speak on your behalf. What medical treatments you want to receive, withhold, or withdraw. Common types, you have a living will. It details the types of medical treatments you do or do not want if you are terminally ill or permanently unconscious. Then you have your durable power of attorney for healthcare proxy. Again, this person acts as the agent making decisions on your behalf. I would say for married couples, if your spouse, whoever, is on a lot of medication, any medication, you need to have a list and you need to have a notebook. All of this needs to be together, listing what medications they take. Even for exams, say, here's another example. If you die without a will or an advance directive, or you're in a hospital and you're incapacitated, and you just had an MRI at whatever facility, they're not going to release those records to you. I'm sorry, that's not the advance directive. That's the HIPAA thing. They're not going to release those records to you if you don't have a HIPAA authorization on file. So the doctor's trying to make a decision on what to do. You can, and what based on your condition, and you can get previous lab results, medical results, whatever, because you don't have that HIPAA authorization on file. You don't have it on file at the hospital. You don't have it on file at your doctor's office. You don't even have a copy in your home. So you need to have, and you can, and I'm getting ahead of myself, you can check with your hospital or your doctor to get this authorization form. And once you get all of this information compiled together, you're going to take it to a good lawyer, and they're going to put it all together for you. And you can either get a book or it could be digitized. The one we're getting is digitized. Because things change, and every time you change something, you know what the lawyers want. For us, the one we purchased, you pay your initial money, then you pay $95 a year for any updates or changes or whatever. And $95 a year to me is not bad. Did you have a question? Yes. Yep. You need medical or an advance directive. Do not resuscitate orders. A specific instruction to medical staff not to perform CPR if your heart stopped breathing. In this advance directive, you can say whether or not or you want to be left on the ventilator. Do you want to be left to have feeding tubes? Do you want dialysis? What about pain management? How do you want them to manage your pain? Normally, if you say you want DNR orders, you can get a bracelet and you either wear that bracelet or you carry something in your wallet because God forbid if you're in a bad or car accident and you become incapacitated or whatever, the EMT, emergency management tech, they're going to look for that bracelet or they're going to look for a card that says you have do not resuscitate. Like, how long would you want to lay in a hospital bed in a coma? Because you know that bill is tick, 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 tick. It adds up. And if you don't have something like Aflac, that's like a supplemental insurance. If you should have a heart or a stroke or something like that, Elder Walters had Aflac insurance. You know what Tammy Tanner did? She went and bought some Aflac. So you get paid. You get paid each day. For how long you in the hospital or whatever. And I think the prices are reasonable. 25, 35 family plan a month. A lot of times we'll say we don't have the money, but we'll go to McDonald's. We'll go to Wendy's. We'll go here and there. It's all of what you value. So again, we don't want our loved ones, if you don't remember anything else, we don't want our loved ones to be stressing over things they don't have to stress over in the event we become incapacitated or expire. Next one, power of attorney. So it's a legal document that allows you, the principal, someone else, the agent, to act on your behalf. You have financial power of attorney and you have a legal or medical power of attorney. The HIPAA authorization, this is what I was talking about. This gives the person the right to access your medical records. So you want to make sure you have a HIPAA authorization, either with your doctor, at the hospital that you normally go to when you need to have surgery, or even with your attorney. The state, whatever state you're in, they have a generic form, but I don't know how good that is. I just know they have them. So you want to make sure you have copies, and whoever's your proxy, you want to make sure they have. Thank you. 5 minutes left. So I'm going to skip that. Supporting documents, I think we talk about that. Most of this is self-explanatory. The only thing I want to say about insurance is that we need insurance. As I stated, it's easier to get insurance when you're younger than when you get older because it's hard to insure. They'll have the nurse come to the house, take your labs, and do all these tests, and they have to find an underwriter. And if they can't find an underwriter, you can't get insurance, which means you need to save up a whole lot of money so that at least there's some money to take care of your burial expenses. Ooh.
My father was in the hospital during the time he had swelling on the brain. It was a blood pressure condition. And he did not know us. And he was in the middle of a divorce. And so we were trying to get things done, having to deal with the fact that, who could say what? And we were like, we want to do A. And so you're dealing with that. And now he's well now, praise God. But we also found out, even though his divorce is final, there's things he listed his wife on that we cannot change. And now she's going to benefit in the event of his death. So you have to make sure things are taken care of. And the other thing I would tell you, we had an aunt, one of my aunts had no kids and she didn't have things in place. She's one of I have 15 aunts and uncles. So all the kids and we were all calling. The insurance company said, Everyone had to call in because they could not reveal who the beneficiary was. And we had to all call in and find out till we found out it was an uncle who also had no kids. And my aunt had this house that she was like, I think she only owed $5,000 on. So we were trying to, it's just all these different situations. Today, I'm encouraged because I've experienced it. You have to take care of your business. You really do. It's very important.
The other thing I say, if you have employee sponsored like 401ks or IRAs, normally make sure with your employer that you have your beneficiaries on file. And then if you change jobs, make sure you change that paperwork. Make sure it follows you because sometimes things become outdated. So they normally recommend you check all of this annually. Make sure everything's in place annually because things can change. Okay.
For all our military and veterans, for all our military and veterans, please check va.gov. There are many benefits when it comes to burial, when it comes to wills and things like that. If you're 100% for a certain amount of time, there's a benefit that your spouse, so much money they get a month, and they can send you the booklet. So go to va.com and they can give you the electronic booklet. Gov, excuse me, va.gov, excuse me, and you'll find that.
But you also need, as military veterans, it's different state by state. You need to see what your state says because if you're 100%, what you want done may not be done. So you have to do it state by state as well.
Praise the Lord. When Minister Hines spoke, there was a question that's been in my mind. Like, my husband and I were both the oldest siblings, so we do have aunts and uncles. Like, we have people that we're thinking about. Like, what can we do for them? What can we set up? Is there, any? We are going to see a financial planner, but as we're talking about this, will we take the same approach with our parents to talk to them? It's not that we want any benefits when they die, but if they get sick and they need care, we're the first ones, Yeah, it's for like aunts. We'll just say aunts because you know how it is. No, or they have kids that can't do.
Although their biological kids may not be able to do anything, it's funny when stuff happens. They may not have done nothing the whole time you were alive, but if they see some dollar sign, some potential dollar sign, they'll show up and they'll try and override. That's why they say it's good to get it in writing.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a comment. My mom passed away on the 17th, 4 years ago. We had people to contact us to see if we wanted to go to probate, but my mom had taken care of everything. So even though you might have stuff you think in writing, people are paid to come out of the woodworks to hold it up so you don't get, and they will find people like 13 generations back to say that you have some relation with them. So you have to be careful about that. My comment for Minister Nelson, you got to have a conversation, even though it's not, people don't want it. It's how, pray about how to approach it. Because my sisters and brothers, and I'm the youngest, they did not want to have the conversation. I said, first of all, my mom never talked about death, wouldn't go to a funeral, and she said she needed to have a conversation. We all going and listening. But for us, it was a blessing. She had everything done. Everybody knew who got what. Everybody knew what she wanted, down to the casket, the everything. So, yes, you got to get it done. Talking to myself.
I think she said last question. We're just gonna do the drawing. What did she say? I just want to do a drawing. Yeah. If you could just pull the number. Okay. Anyone with 227? Who? Okay. Look, I can't hold on. 227. can show them what you received. This is like what I teach. I like to give things away that will help you get started on your way. You can hold it up. That's our planner. Yeah. 225. That was close. 225. 225. Okay, we're gonna skip that one. Maybe they left. Who? $260. $260. Okay, $260. And you know, while we're doing this, $210. While we're doing this, if you have young people and they go off to college, which I didn't know, I thank God that Simeon made it through. Give her that one right there. That one right there, yeah. You need to make sure they have an advance directive and a medical power of attorney. Because if something happens to your child while they're at school, you won't be able to access, even though you're the parent, legal guardian, you won't be able to access any of their records. And I didn't know this. Like, ooh, thank you, Jesus. He made it through. So, yes, if once they go off to school, they turn 18, make sure you get an advance directive and a medical power of attorney. So if they lock themselves in the dorm room and do whatever, and you come there trying to say, I'm the parent, and I need to make sure you have that on file. Did you give it to me?
I had a quick question. I should have said it earlier about children. Now, when my daughter passed away, she didn't have any kind of will or anything. So, because she had two minor children, even though I helped her raise them, I had to go to court and they had to interview me and see if I wanted to keep the children or if I wanted the children to go to the system. So, if you are a grandmother and you have a child that is out there kicking up their heels and they have children, you have to make sure that something's in writing. And they could have taken the boys and put them in the system, but the Lord just intervened. And because, you know, the Jacob was the smallest, so he didn't have any say. But they actually put Raja on the stand and asked him, do you want to live with your grandmother or do you want to live somewhere else? And they can do that legally. So it's good to have something in writing if you are a grandparent and there's a possibility you may end up raising your grandchildren. You have to be, like she said, you have to have something in writing. But the Lord just intervened, and it was a smooth transition. So you have to be careful of that also.
One more, I'm sorry.
No, it's mine. Well, yeah, I'm waiting on mine.
206. Yes, do you? 206, you donated? Thank you. Yeah. All right, thank you all. Thank you for your time. Pastor Tanner, can you come here, please? Can you put that back? Oh, no, I'm putting